Today is day one for the Come Follow Me study for this week, June 15th through the 21st. The battle is the Lord's. 1 Samuel 17 through 18, 24 through 26, and 2 Samuel 5 through 7. Monday, June 15th, 2026, 1 Samuel 17, 1 through 37. Liken the Scriptures. The Scriptures provide great opportunities to learn from the motivations and actions of people like David, Jonathan, and Saul. You'll find that no one in the Scriptures is flawless. So as you read, for example, about David's faithful choices, be open to learning also from his mistakes. Doing so can help us identify potential weaknesses in ourselves and learn to be more wise than others have been. Ever since the tribes of Israel had settled in the Promised Land, the Philistines had been an ongoing threat to their safety. The Lord had delivered them many times in the past, but now the elders of Israel demanded, "We will have a king to go out before us and fight our battles." So Saul was anointed king, and yet, when the Philistines came to battle against the Israelites, the giant Goliath challenged the army of Israel to send a soldier to face him in combat. When the menacing giant Goliath hurled his challenge to the armies of Israel, Saul, like the rest of his army, was greatly afraid. On that day, it wasn't King Saul who saved Israel, but a humble shepherd boy named David, who was wearing no armor, but was clothed with impenetrable faith in the Lord. David, a young shepherd, accepted the challenge and slew Goliath with the Lord's help. This battle proved to Israel and to anyone who has spiritual battles to fight that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, and that the battle is the Lord's. King Saul placed David over his armies, but later became jealous and tried to kill David. David had the chance to kill Saul, but refused because the king was the Lord's anointed. While David and his men were in the wilderness, a man named Nabal insulted him and refused to give them help. Nabal's wife Abigail interceded on behalf of her husband and pacified David. After Saul died, David became king over Judah, and then all of Israel. The Lord promised that David's kingdom would be established forever. 1 Samuel 17. The story of David and Goliath is one of the best-known stories in the Scriptures. Of course, we usually focus on David, but this time as you study 1 Samuel 17, ponder also the words of other people in this chapter: Goliath, Eliab, Saul, and David. Israel and the Philistines engage in war. 1 Samuel 17, 1 through 2. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shachah, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shachah and Azekah in Ephes Dammim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. Descending from the hill country of Judah toward the Mediterranean Sea are numerous valleys, or wadis. One of these is the valley of Elah, in which David's battle with Goliath occurred near Azekah in the Shephelah or low-lying hills. The accompanying map shows the valley of Elah almost directly west and a little south of Jerusalem. 1 Samuel 17:3. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. Goliath of Gath, a giant, defies Israel and challenges any Israelite to personal combat. 1 Samuel 17:4. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits in a span. Our word champion comes from campus, the field. Champion is he properly who fights in the field or in camps. A man well skilled in arms, strong, brave, and patriotic. But in this, the meaning of the original, Ish Habenahem, a middleman, the man between two, that is, as here, the man who undertakes to settle the disputes between two armies or nations. The chosen person from each side was known as a champion, a term translated from a Hebrew word that means a man who is a go-between. So our ancient champions settled disputes between contending parties by what was termed camp fight, hence the campio or champion. Although it seems peculiar in this day of modern warfare, in ancient times it was not unusual for opposing armies, which were generally quite small, to select one representative from each side to fight a personal contest. The outcome of that contest determined the winner of the battle. This practice allowed the outcome to be determined with far fewer casualties. According to this passage, Goliath's height was 6 cubits and a span. The most widely accepted opinion of the length of a cubit is about 18 inches, or roughly the distance between the elbow to the tip of the extended middle finger. A span is said to be 1/2 a cubit, or the distance from the thumb to the end of the little finger, when the fingers are spread as wide as possible. These measurements would make the height of Goliath approximately 9 feet 9 inches. It is not too surprising that the Philistines would have picked such a champion, or that no man in Israel wanted to be Saul's champion. Some ancient texts, such as the Septuagint and the Dead Sea Scrolls, list Goliath's height as 4 cubits and a span, around 6.5 feet, or 2 meters tall. Regardless of which number is accurate, Goliath was an imposing and a frightening figure. 1 Samuel 17, 5-7. And he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail. And the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves, or shin armor, of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders, or armor protecting the neck. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. Experts have estimated the weight of Goliath's armor to be about 150 pounds. A weaver's beam is a strong, thick piece of wood on which thread is strung in preparation for weaving. The weight of Goliath's spearhead has been estimated from 12 to 26 pounds, depending on which authority is consulted and what weight he selects for a shekel. A greave is a protective piece of armor that fits on the front of the leg and extends from just below the knee to the ankle. 1 Samuel 17, 8-10. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine? And ye servants of Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him, and I kill him, then shall ye be our servants, and serve us. And the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man, that we may fight together. What do you learn about Goliath and his motives? 1 Samuel 17:11. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. These verses are a brief flashback that bring young David into the story once again. Even though he was Saul's armor-bearer, young David, unlike the fighting men, was evidently permitted to leave the battlefield and return home from time to time. 1 Samuel 17, 12-17. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons, and the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and next unto him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. And David was the youngest, and the 3 oldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near morning and evening, and presented himself 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son, Take now for thy brethren an ephah of his parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp of thy brethren. The ephah was a dry measure, roughly equivalent to 3/5 of a United States bushel, or about 22 liters. 1 Samuel 17, 18-26. And he carried these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now Saul, and they, and all the men of Israel, were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went, as Jesse had commanded him, and he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage or baggage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid. And the men of Israel said, Have you seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and take his father's house free in Israel. And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? What do you learn about David? How is he different? 1 Samuel 17:27 through 28. And the people answered him after this manner, saying, So shall it be done to the man that killeth him. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, Why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride and the haughtiness of thine heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. What do you learn about Eliab and his motives? 1 Samuel 17:29 through 33. And David said, What have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him toward another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. What do you learn about Saul and his motives? 1 Samuel 17:34. And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. What do you learn about David? How is he different? 1 Samuel 17:35 through 37. And I went after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. David said, Moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion, and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of the Philistine. And Saul said unto David, Go, and the Lord be with thee. What do you learn about David? How is he different?